Hi, I'm Gloria. I never imagined I'd be sitting in a hospital room at 23, 6 months pregnant, with bruises blooming across my skin like unwanted flowers. Yet here I was, my hand intertwined with Marco's, the gold band on my finger catching the fluorescent light. The baby is fine, Mrs. Alvarez, Dr. Chen said, her kind eyes meeting mine as she set down the ultrasound wand. But I'm concerned about these injuries. Would you like to tell me what happened? I glanced at Marco, whose jaw was clenched so tight I worried he might crack a tooth. We'd been married just 2 weeks ago, a small ceremony at City Hall with his family and our friends. My parents weren't there. They didn't know until yesterday when I finally gathered the courage to tell them. My parents, I whispered, the words sticking in my throat. They didn't approve of my marriage. Dr. Chen's expression shifted subtly. I see. And these bruises? My voice faltered. They attacked her, Marco said, his voice trembling with controlled fury. Her father pushed her against a wall. Her mother slapped her. All because we got married without their permission, like Gloria needs permission at 23 years old. Dr. Chen nodded slowly. I need to document these injuries, Gloria, and I strongly recommend speaking with a social worker. What you experienced is domestic violence, and there are resources to help. A knock at the door interrupted us, and a tall woman with a cloud of curly hair stepped in. I'm Tanya Williams, the hospital social worker. Dr. Chen called me. I don't know what to do, I admitted as Tanya pulled up a chair. They're my parents. I never thought they'd hurt their pregnant daughter, Marco finished, running a hand through his dark hair. I told you they wouldn't accept us. I told you we should have just moved away. And never tell them? They're my family, Marco, I said. Family doesn't do this, he responded, gently touching the bruise on my cheek. Tanya leaned forward. Gloria, what happened exactly? Take your time. I took a deep breath. We've been together 3 years. Marco proposed last year, but I kept postponing telling my parents because they're very traditional. They always said I needed to marry someone from our community, our church. Then I got pregnant and we decided to just get married quietly. I thought once they knew about the baby, they might accept it. So yesterday you told them? Tanya prompted. Yes, I went alone, which I begged you not to do, Marco interjected. I thought they'd be less angry if it was just me, I continued. I told them about the marriage, about the baby. My father started yelling, saying I'd disgrace the family. My mother was crying, saying, what would people think? When I tried to leave, my father grabbed my arm. I pulled away and he pushed me against the wall. My mother was screaming that I'd ruined everything, slapping me. I managed to get out and called Marco. Tanya nodded, making notes. Gloria, what you're describing is assault. You have options, including filing a police report and getting a restraining order. A restraining order? Against my own parents? The words felt impossible. They hurt you and your baby could have been harmed, Tanya said firmly. This isn't about punishment. It's about safety. My phone buzzed with another text. 37 messages from my mother since last night. Marco glanced at the screen. They're still saying it's your fault, that you need to fix this mistake and come home. Is that what you want? Tanya asked gently. I placed my hand on my stomach, feeling the small flutter of my baby moving inside me. No, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. No, I don't think I can go home again. You're doing the right thing, Sophia said, setting a mug of tea in front of me at her kitchen table. Marco's sister had immediately offered her spare room when she heard what happened. Am I? I asked, wrapping my fingers around the warm mug. Filing charges against my own parents feels wrong. Sophia sat across from me, her expression serious. What they did was wrong, Gloria, not you protecting yourself and your baby. Marco entered from the living room, ending a phone call. That was Officer Rivera. She's coming by in an hour to take your statement. Have your parents tried contacting you again? Sophia asked. I nodded. My mother keeps texting that I'm overreacting, that in our culture, parents discipline their children. My father called Marco's phone threatening to take me back. That's not discipline, Sophia said firmly. And you're not a child. My cousin Alejandro called, Marco added, sitting beside me. Your father went to his auto shop looking for us. My stomach tightened with anxiety. What did Alejandro say? Told him he hadn't seen us. But Gloria, this is exactly why we need the restraining order. The doorbell rang and Sophia went to answer it. She returned with a surprise. My best friend Zoe, carrying a small suitcase. I went by your apartment to get some of your things, Zoe explained, setting down the suitcase. Your mom was there, waiting outside. She tried to stop me. What happened? I stood up, alarmed. It's okay, Zoe assured me, her blonde ponytail swinging as she shook her head. I told her I was just getting mail for you. She kept saying you were being manipulated, that Marco was turning you against your family. That's ridiculous, Marco muttered. I know, Zoe agreed. I've watched you bend over backwards for years trying to please them. Remember when you turned down that scholarship to stay close to home because they insisted? Sophia's eyebrows shot up. You never told me about a scholarship. I sighed. It wasn't important. It was to Stanford, Zoe countered. For engineering. Marco looked at me, surprised. You never told me that either. Because it didn't matter, I said, feeling defensive. I made my choice. Did you? Zoe challenged. Or did you make their choice? The doorbell rang again, and this time it was Officer Rivera, a compact woman with sharp eyes and a gentle smile. Miss Alvarez, she greeted me, settling at the table with a notepad. I understand this is difficult, but I need to hear exactly what happened. I recounted the events again, each telling somehow both harder and easier than the last. And you're certain you want to press charges? Officer Rivera asked when I finished. They're her parents, Marco said bitterly. She's struggling with that part. I understand, Officer Rivera said, looking directly at me. Many domestic violence victims feel conflicted, especially when it's family. But Gloria, your parents assaulted you while you were pregnant. There's no cultural or family exemption for that. My father always had a temper, I admitted quietly. He would yell, sometimes break things, but he never hit me before. My mother would always say it was just his way, that men in our family were passionate. That's how it starts, Officer Rivera replied. The escalation to physical violence rarely happens out of nowhere. What happens now? Sophia asked. We file the report. The DA will decide whether to pursue charges. Meanwhile, we can request an emergency protective order today, followed by a temporary restraining order. And if they violate it? Marco asked. Then they go to jail, Officer Rivera stated plainly. The weight of that consequence hung in the air. My parents, who had worked hard, sacrificed, and in their own controlling way, loved me, behind bars. I don't want them in jail, I whispered. I just want them to leave us alone. The restraining order is your best option then, Officer Rivera said. Most people comply rather than risk arrest. My baby deserves to be safe, I said finally, one hand on my stomach. I want the restraining order. 2 weeks later, I sat in the courthouse hallway, my heart pounding as we waited for our hearing. The temporary restraining order had kept my parents away physically, but the emotional toll of their messages, alternating between guilt, anger, and pleas, was exhausting. You okay? Marco asked, squeezing my hand. No, I admitted. But I will be. Our lawyer, Mrs. Patterson, approached with a folder. They're here with their attorney. The judge will see us soon. Will I have to talk to them? I asked, anxiety crawling up my throat. No direct interaction, Mrs. Patterson assured me. But you'll need to testify about what happened. The courtroom doors opened, and we were called in. I kept my eyes forward, refusing to look for my parents, though I could feel their presence like a physical weight. Judge Ramirez, a stern-faced woman with reading glasses perched on her nose, reviewed the file. We're here for case number 47329, Alvarez versus Alvarez and Alvarez, petition for a permanent restraining order. Our lawyer presented the evidence. Medical reports, photographs of my bruises, the threatening text messages. Then it was my turn to speak. Miss Alvarez, Please describe in your own words what occurred on May 15th, Judge Ramirez instructed. I recounted the events again, my voice steadier than I expected. When I finished, the judge asked, "And have there been previous incidents of physical violence?" "No, Your Honor. But there has always been control, emotional pressure, threats to cut me off if I didn't follow their rules." Then I heard my father's voice for the first time since that terrible day. "We have the right to guide our daughter. This man has poisoned her mind against her family, her traditions." "Mr. Alvarez, you will have your turn to speak," Judge Ramirez warned. My father's lawyer asked me questions next, his tone suggesting I was exaggerating, that it was a family disagreement that got out of hand. "A disagreement?" I repeated, anger finally breaking through my fear. "I'm 23 years old. I'm married. I'm having a baby. And they physically attacked me for making my own choices." "Your parents invested everything in you," the lawyer countered. "They feel betrayed? Invested?" I interrupted. "I'm their daughter, not a stock portfolio. They don't own me." When my mother took the stand, she wept, claiming they never meant to hurt me. "We just want our daughter back. We made a mistake. Gloria, please." She looked directly at me. "We're so sorry. Come home. We'll accept your marriage, your baby." Judge Ramirez redirected her. "Mrs. Alvarez, please address the court, not your daughter." My father testified next, his voice alternating between contrition and righteous indignation. "In our culture, family stays together. We solve our problems privately. This court, these restraining orders, this is not our way." "Assault is not your way either, I would hope," Judge Ramirez commented dryly. After closing arguments, the judge looked at all of us. "Family relationships are complex, but the law is clear. No one has the right to physically harm another person, regardless of their relationship. The evidence shows clear assault on a pregnant woman." She turned to my parents. "Your cultural values do not supersede your daughter's physical safety or her right to make her own adult decisions." The gavel came down. "The court grants the permanent restraining order for a period of 3 years." As we left the courtroom, my mother called out, "Gloria, please! We're still your parents." I paused, finally turning to look at them. My father's proud face now crumpled in defeat. My mother's tears. For a moment, grief threatened to drown me. "Yes, you are," I said quietly. "And I hope someday you'll understand what that really means." "Paint samples?" Marco laughed, watching me spread color swatches across our new apartment's living room floor. "The baby's not due for another 2 months." "I know, but nesting is real," I replied, sorting yellows from greens. "Besides, it gives me something positive to focus on." It had been 3 months since the restraining order was granted. We'd moved across town, changing our phone numbers and creating new email addresses. Marco had found a better job at a technology firm, and I'd enrolled in online classes to finish my degree. Sophia arrived with groceries, using the key we'd given her. "How's my favorite mama-to-be?" "Growing by the minute," I replied, rubbing my now substantial belly. "Doctor says everything looks perfect." "Any word from—" Sophia trailed off, the question hanging in the air. "My parents? No. Not directly, anyway. My cousin Elena called last week. Said they're telling everyone I've been stolen by Marco's family." "That's ridiculous," Sophia snorted, unpacking vegetables. "It's actually progress," I said. "At least they're not saying I'm dead to them anymore." The doorbell rang, surprising us all. Marco answered cautiously, a habit we'd all developed. "Zoe," he called out. "And Alejandro?" My friend entered, followed by Marco's cousin, both looking suspiciously pleased with themselves. "What's going on?" I asked, noting the way they weren't quite looking at each other. "We have news," Zoe announced, holding up her hand to reveal a small diamond ring. "No way!" I gasped, struggling to my feet. "You two? When did this happen?" "Turns out your crisis brought us together," Alejandro explained, his arm around Zoe's waist. "All those late nights discussing how to help you?" "We're happy for you," Marco said, clapping his cousin on the shoulder. "Really happy." After celebratory tea and planning for a small engagement dinner, Sophia and the newly engaged couple left. Marco and I settled on the couch, his hand resting on my belly to feel the baby's kicks. "I got a letter today," I said finally. "From my mother. She sent it to my old university email, which I still check sometimes." Marco tensed. "What did it say?" "She apologized, actually. Said they've been seeing a counselor at their church, that my father is working on his anger." I paused. "She asked if they could meet their grandchild someday. How do you feel about that?" I considered the question carefully. "Not ready. Maybe not for a long time, but I'm glad they're getting help." "You don't owe them access to our baby," Marco reminded me. "I know. This isn't about obligation, it's about—" I searched for the words. "Breaking cycles. Our baby deserves better than what I grew up with. But maybe if they're really changing, there could be some kind of relationship eventually. On our terms." Marco nodded slowly. "On our terms, with clear boundaries." "Very clear," I agreed. "And at a distance with supervision when we're ready, if we're ever ready." The baby kicked hard, making us both smile. "Your mom texted me yesterday," I admitted. "She's making a quilt for the baby. Is that okay with you? I can tell her to stop." "No, it's nice," I said. "Your family has been amazing. I never knew family could be supportive without being controlling." "That's what family should be," Marco said, kissing my forehead. "Supporting each other's choices, not dictating them." Later that night, as Marco slept beside me, I opened my journal, a suggestion from my therapist, and wrote, "Today I realized something important. Setting boundaries isn't just about keeping harmful people away. It's about creating space for good things to grow. Our little family is growing. My education is continuing. Marco's career is advancing. We have friends who became family when my family couldn't be what I needed. The bruises faded months ago, but the lessons remain. I am allowed to choose my own path. I am allowed to protect myself and my child. I am allowed to decide who gets to be in our lives and on what terms. Hi, I'm Gloria, and for the first time, I'm truly writing my own story.